Let's play a game of true or false. We're trying to get to the bottom of the truth about SPPS schools and ICE. So I'm going to show you a series of statements, and your job is to decide whether the statement is true, false, or it's complicated. Let's go. ICE is allowed in the city of St. Paul. Is that true or false? It's true. They are federal government agents, so they are technically allowed to conduct operations in the city of St. Paul. We have some protection, but not total. And I want you to think about this question as we go through the rest of this game. What are some situations where law enforcement would maybe come onto an SPPS campus? Next question. SPPS cannot cooperate with ICE. True or false? False. We shouldn't be asking families or students about their immigration status. But we also should not be making active holds for ICE. If there is paperwork, SPPS may decide to cooperate with ICE to detain an individual. More on that later. And outside of work duties, it's important to remember that any SPPS staff member may be contacting ICE on their own time. Next question. ICE agents must wear identifiable clothing. Complicated. Purportedly for safety reasons, ICE agents don't wear identifiable garments often, although they are supposed to wear something that identifies them as law enforcement at the least. If they start interacting with members of the public, though, they are supposed to identify themselves as ICE. There are many cases of ICE agents hiding their identities in order to trick people into detaining them. Next, ICE is allowed on SPPS property. True or false? Complicated. Historically, ICE hasn't been going into sensitive areas like hospitals, churches, and schools, although there are reports lately that may be changing. Agents can enter school property, but we can also try to protect our community. And a warrant is needed to conduct a search in a school, but officials can claim what's called exigent circumstances to enter a building if there is like imminent danger or possible loss of evidence, for example. Next question. ICE agents have never set foot in an SPPS school before. True or false? Answer is, we don't know. We don't have confirmation of any recent incidents, but it is possible because they disguise themselves so often. So that's why it's always important to be really vigilant about our visitor and volunteer policies and be protective of student information. Don't give it up to members of the public. SPPS will never turn over a student or their information to ICE. True or false? False. This is an example of a court order search warrant. If you see one of these documents, SPPS's legal department will then determine whether records need to be disclosed, a search has to be allowed, or an arrest has to be made. Next, SPPS staff may ask a student or caregiver about immigration status. True or false? True, technically. We can ask about status to provide appropriate information, resources, and services, but you might want to remind students and families they don't have to give us an answer if they don't want to. We have to give them services whether or not they tell us their immigration status. Next, SPPS staff is allowed to write down a student's immigration information. True or false? Technically true, but there's never really any need to write that stuff down or record it digitally. Many schools have found ways to talk around it so that there's never any record of a student or family's immigration status. SPPS staff may advise students and caregivers about what to do during ICE raids at home, in the street, and at work. True or false? Complicated. We aren't necessarily experts on this topic, so we encourage you to point families toward other resources that are experts. Make sure you keep families centered and follow their lead. More resources to follow right now, actually. So if you're wondering, how can I help? What can I do? Here's some helpful tips. First, be honest with families. SPPS is going to have to comply with lawful court orders. We can't promise that ICE won't come to our schools and buildings, but we are going to insist that proper paperwork is produced and procedures are followed before complying with law enforcement demands. Continue to create welcoming environments for all students. Don't make assumptions about status, and don't force students to share their experiences, stories, or immigration status. Last, encourage families to memorize 1 or 2 phone numbers of trusted people who may be called if someone is detained by ICE. If they have an attorney already, encourage them to memorize that number, because if they do get detained, chances are they won't have access to their cell phone. If you happen to be in public and you do witness a raid happening, here are some things you can do. Stay calm, stand back, don't interfere. Record as much as you can with your phone. Turn on the video, just keep recording. Share a red card with the person being detained and ask them if there's any information they want you to share, because they will probably not have a lot of opportunities to share things with anyone themselves after this. Don't interfere with the arrest physically or verbally, or get any closer than 10 feet if you're filming it. If you do approach, we cannot guarantee your safety, either from the law enforcement officers or from arrest yourself. The safest way to become a legal observer is to join up with an Unidos Monarca training. More information on that in a sec. We have a lot of resources for you available on our website, including the following and these. We've also worked with COPAL, founded in 2018. This is a nonprofit dedicated to immigrant rights locally, and they have campaigned for a driver's license for all, along with Unidos. And they have been facilitating the Immigrant Defense Network. So they've been a really helpful organization for our families. We've also been working with Unidos, which is a grassroots organization in Minnesota that's working to advance social, racial, and economic justice. They have been offering those legal observer trainings, and the best way to sign up for one is probably to go to their website, sign up on their mailing list, and wait until you see something pop up in the calendar. We also want to recommend the ACLU's website. This is a great resource for us as staff and for families and students. If you go to their website, you will see it's easy to navigate. Scroll down, you'll see titles like this that are very clear. We have rights when ICE is outside our doors. What do we do? It's a video, you watch it. It's 3.5 minutes. It comes in all these different languages that are very easily accessible. There are other topics. What happens if ICE is inside our home? What happens if ICE is in our community, in our streets? What happens if ICE arrests us, etc. I've used these with students myself. They're easy to understand. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to contact us, please complete an interest form. You could join the committee or sign up for our mailing list. And I also want to say thank you on behalf of the Immigration Defense Committee for standing up for our students and families and making sure that they are as safe as possible in SPPS.